Welcome to Networking RX, a podcast devoted to helping business professionals like you enhance your networking skills in order to become more proficient giving and receiving quality business referrals and improving the overall quality of your life and the lives of those around you. The Networking RX podcast is a production of AmSpirit Business Connections, an organization whose mission is to empower business success through networking.
Welcome back for another episode. This is Frank Agin, founder and president of AmSpirit Business Connections. A while back, not too terribly long ago, I was introduced to somebody on, via email. I guess either LinkedIn or via email. It was somebody I know relatively well saying, hey, here's somebody I would like you to meet. You two should get acquainted. And a lot of times what those turn out to be are really me meeting young entrepreneurs who are looking for a little insight on networking, which is great. Sometimes these are people that can be great guests on this podcast. Often that's where my guests come from, are those introductions. I'll have what I'll call a get acquainted call with somebody, and they have an interesting story or a valuable expertise that really fits into the theme of this podcast, professional relationships. So it's kind of a mixed bag. I seldom get sent into a situation where I'm getting hard pitched, although that has happened. Someone will introduce me to somebody else, and that somebody else will think that's an invitation to pitch me or some sort of indication that I absolutely need what they have to offer. And that's the topic of a whole nother conversation, which we're not going to get into today. But this particular conversation started interesting. Well, it started normally. You know, we're kind of going back and forth. Hey, how's it going? We both know this particular person, and I'm going to leave names out of this for obvious reasons. Nobody needs to be embarrassed by this. But at one point, I asked them. I said, "Okay, how are things going? What's happening? And what do you do?" And he shared about what it is that he did, and then he let drop, I'm still working on my first client, which I picked up on immediately. And then he kind of continued on. I let him continue on. And at some point I said, hey, listen, can we circle back? I want to, you had said something. You had said you're still working on your first client. And I just wanted to clarify that you don't have any clients at this point. And he said he confirmed, no, I don't have any clients. I'm literally trying to land my first client. I've got this new program. I worked for somebody for years. Decided to go out on my own. I've got this program. I'm trying to be a consultant. Great. That's where a lot of people start. That's more or less where we all start. Unless you're leaving a firm and have clients already that you're taking with you, which does happen, but a lot of people, they don't necessarily have that situation, and that can run the gamut. It can be the plumber who is working for a company and decides, I've got a truck, I've got all the tools, I'm getting sent all over town to work on things where I could stay pretty close to home and I know I could keep busy, and I rather than my boss making $100 an hour on my time, I can make $90 on my time or $100 an hour on my time, and I keep it all, as opposed to my boss billing me out at $100 an hour and I'm getting paid 30, 40. I don't know, just throwing numbers out. But anyhow, this particular person indicated that I don't have any clients. I'm still working on my first client, and I said, I don't mean to pick on you. I'm not trying to make you feel bad, but do not tell anybody ever again that you're still working on your first client. And I went on to tell him, I said, listen, nobody wants to be your first client. Nobody wants to be that person that, hey, you're the guinea pig. Nobody's going to have pity on you. Oh, you don't have any clients, so guess what? I'll be your client. Business doesn't work that way. People aren't going to have a pity opportunity for you. Just bumped my microphone there. Sorry. People aren't going to have a pity opportunity for you or somebody who doesn't have clients. Say, I don't really have many clients. Oh, woe is me. Okay, I'm sorry. Sorry to hear that. I'll hire you. It doesn't work that way. And what I went on to tell the guy, again, I'm not trying to make him feel bad, but then I wanted to coach him a little bit on what he should do. And I shared with him, I said, whatever you're trying to do, I knew what this person was trying to do, but I just said, you have experience. You work somebody for years. And back to my plumbing example, the guy's working for a plumber. There's 25 other plumbers. He has a truck. He already has all the equipment. He decides he's going to go out on his own. He might not have any clients at that moment, but he's got all that plumbing experience. I got 10 years of plumbing experience. And it's the same thing with this particular individual, this consultant. He had the experience to do exactly what he was setting about doing. He didn't have any personal clients. I'm using air quotes here, personal clients, but he had the experience. So I went on to explain that to him, and his head's nodding, and I know it kind of made him feel bad. I didn't mean to make him feel bad, but I don't want him to continue going and having conversations with people and saying, geez, I don't have any clients. I don't have any clients. Would you be my first client? Would you be my first client? Because nobody wants to be the first client. And I'm not advocating lying. I'm not advocating lying. I'm not advocating saying, hey, I'm killing it, I'm making 7 figures when you're not, or when the 7 figures are you counting the decimal points. I'm not advocating bold-faced lying, but what I'm encouraging is not having brutal honesty either. You don't necessarily have to explain to somebody, hey, listen, here's the absolute situation. If you were to audit me, if I were to get a financial audit and have somebody come in and write a very true expose of my situation, this is what it would say, I don't think you have to do that. In this particular person's situation, I'm very comfortable with them telling people, listen, this is, here are clients I've worked with. I had a conversation with somebody a while back, and they were they were another kind of consulting, and they'd done a small job for a family member, and I told them, the same thing. I don't have any clients, kind of a thing, but they had done it. Well, it wasn't even a small job. It was helping a mom with her business. Trying to get the mom into the 21st century. Which was really kind of right up this person's alley. And so, spent time helping mom, who arguably had paid them over the years with free room and board, maybe an education in there, lots of love, care. And, they were basically saying, I have never done anything. I've never had clients. Well, yes, you have. You helped your mom. You just don't need to tell people it's your mom that you helped. I helped this very established realtor group, do this, and this in their business. And it's true. It's absolutely true. You have the experience. You've done this. Now, if you want to be brutally honest and say it was your mom, you didn't make any money, and you really kind of tarnished the whole thing, I'm not, it's not lying. It's not lying. Maybe it's a white lie. We'll call it a white lie. This is we'll call this episode the white lie that is good for networking, and the white lie is essentially being kind of putting a varnish on the truth, not a heavy varnish on the truth, but putting a little bit of a varnish on the truth, putting a little bit of spin on there. I mean, it's and it's this is happening every day in marketing. You're watching commercials, cellular commercials are saying, we have nationwide coverage, and you can read the fine print. We have, we're defining nationwide to be this. They don't say what they are defining nationwide to be. They do in the small print, which you can't read unless you freeze the frame and really get up on top of the TV. It's, arguably that's, I guess somebody could say, well, there's a problem with that. It's not. It's just spin. It's just marketing spin. So back to this particular individual, I went on to share with him something that occurred to me several years ago. I was at a chapter meeting of AmSpirit Business Connections, and the realtor in the group stood up to do his commercial. If you're familiar with these groups, everybody gets an opportunity to kind of give a 30-second commercial. And this particular, the attorney, if I misspoke, it was the attorney in the group who was kind of a business attorney, um, spoke, and he said, one of the other things that I'm kind of paraphrasing, one of the things I could probably also do for your clients is estate planning. I haven't done a lot of it, um, but I read up on it. I'm pretty comfortable, and there are other people in my office that I can get advice from to make sure I don't make any mistakes. And probably because I haven't done this before, I could really cut your client a special deal. Again, nobody wants to be somebody's first client, you know. Hey, I've never done heart surgery before. You're going to be the first. Nobody wants to sign up for that. Nobody does. You know, maybe, well, not the heart thing, but maybe mom or dad will, okay, I'll hire you to do whatever for me for the first time. But generally speaking, beyond that, nobody wants to be your first client. So anyhow, this attorney stood up and he kind of did this whole hemming and hawing about, all these qualifiers as to, yeah, I haven't done estate planning before, but I'm pretty sure I can do it, and I'll cut you a special break. And I grabbed him after the meeting. Now, for those who don't know, I used to be an attorney, and I just told him, I said, listen, look around the room. You're the only attorney in the room. You're the only person who spent 3 years of your life in law school. You're the only person in the room who spent an entire summer studying for the bar. You are the expert in the law. They don't need to know that you've never done an estate plan before. You just need to stand up and own it. One of the other things I do is I do estate planning. I can help your clients, guard their money from, or guard their money from estate taxes, and ensure that the money goes to where it's supposed to go when they pass. However they want to put it. Just own it. Own the moment. I'm the expert. Kind of throw your shoulders back and say, hey, this is who I do. So back to this conversation I had just a couple weeks ago. I kind of went through that with him, and I just was really trying to explain to him that you don't need to qualify these things. You don't need to let people know that you don't have clients. You have clients. So talk about the work that you've done for the employer where you picked up a lot of experience. And you can parcel out that experience of working for the employer and make it almost seem like you had other clients. One client I did this, another client I did that, even though it was all working for this employer. So when you're out there talking to people about the types of things that you do, well, this is the types of things I do, and one client we did this, and another client I did this sort of a project, and this client I did this sort of a project. Again, no different than the plumber who is going out on his own and somebody saying, hey, have you ever unclogged a toilet? Well, lots of times I've unclogged a toilet. How about plumbing a whole house, a new build? Could you do that? Yes, I've worked with clients who've done that. Even though he was all getting paid by his plumber boss, he had these different clients. It's all a matter of how you look at it. If you want to call it a white lie, then fine, call it a white lie. But it is certainly a white lie that is, in my mind, in my opinion, is perfectly acceptable, and it's good for networking. It's good for building trust with the people around you. And the person that I happen to be having this conversation with a couple weeks ago, excuse me, getting things all mixed up here. That person revealed to me, said, I just had this conversation with my wife this morning, that I really feel like I'm wrestling with imposter syndrome. Like I'm really feeling like, I'm not owning the moment. Those are my words, not his. But that's essentially what he was trying to say. And I said, yeah, I get it. And this is going to move you beyond. This is going to really give you power in the next conversation to say, yeah, I got clients. I've had clients, I'm looking to add more. And the other thing I shared with him along these same lines is there's nothing wrong with doing a little personal daydreaming and thinking about types of situations where you could help somebody out. So in other words, well, let's use the plumber as an example. Maybe there's something that the plumber's never done, right? Never did with his employer, but has all the tools, fully capable, just never had the assignment to do, right? Have you ever installed, done a water heater? Yeah. I've done lots of water heaters. How about a tankless water heater? Now, he may not have done a tankless water heater, but it's like, you know what? It's plumbing. I can do it. And so you can kind of formulate in your mind. So I told this guy, you can formulate in your mind things that you might not have done, but are very confident that you can get done. Back to the attorney. Yeah, I can do estate planning. Have you ever done one? Well, that's not the question. And that question's probably never going to come up. Can you do estate planning? Oh, yeah, absolutely can do estate planning. Estate plan, really estate plan at its heart, an estate plan is nothing more than a contract that you have with yourself. I don't need to get into the legalities of it, but I've done lots of those things. You've done lots of contracts. These are what I'll call acceptable white lies that are good for networking. They're important for building trust. And what I told this person I had a conversation with a couple weeks ago, and I'll tell you, is that you have more expertise, you have more experience, you have more capabilities than you probably give yourself credit for. And so you need to stop and start giving yourself credit, start kind of throwing your shoulders back and saying, yeah, I can do that. Absolutely can do that. I've done it, even if you've just done it in your mind, you've done it. It'll get done. You're the expert. Whether you're the realtor selling a house, if you haven't sold a house, if you haven't sold a house, but you've taken, however many hours of classes, and worked with other people, plumbing. Yeah, I've done it. Did it for somebody else. I help grandma, with the clog issue or whatever. Those things all count. They're acceptable white lies that are good for networking. So think about your business. Think about all the things that you have done prior to perhaps going out on your own. And if you run into somebody else, like I ran into somebody who was kind of hemming and hawing, do your best to encourage them along and share this and just say, hey, you own the situation, own it. You've got more experience, more capabilities than you're letting on.
Thanks for joining us on the Networking RX podcast. Please put what you've learned into action today and let us know if you have questions, comments, or ideas for future topics. You can email them to us at podcast@amspirit.com. That's AmSpirit.com. Finally, so you never miss an episode, be sure to subscribe to the Networking RX podcast through iTunes, Overcast, or however you receive your podcasts. Now get out and network with someone.
The Networking RX podcast is the copyright production of AmSpirit Business Connection. All rights reserved.